As Naruto fans, we've all been introduced to so many different types of jutsu that sometimes can be a bit of a hard thing to keep track of them all. You have different chakra natures to different jutsu. Every jutsu has its own unique way that it can be used. Some require prep time and so much more that at times one might say can be a bit of information overload, especially if you aren't paying close attention. In fact, when it comes to jutsu and abilities that are Kekkei Genkai, there are still some fans who get confused with them, even down to what classifies as a Kekkei Genkai and which jutsu and abilities are Kekkei Genkai, which adds some more confusion, like people classifying techniques as being Kekkei Genkai when they aren't Kekkei Genkai. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explain video where we're going to explain the difference between Kekkei Genkai and Hiden Jutsu, because there are still some fans who don't know the difference between the two and what it is that makes them so uniquely different. In short, if you're someone who's ever confused, say, Shadow Possession Jutsu and Expansion Jutsu for Kekkei Genkai, then this video is definitely for you. Now, I can see why so many people make the confusion with these two different types of abilities, Kekkei Genkai and Hiden Jutsu, because both at their core, they are techniques that are linked to specific families, but that's where the similarities stop. One of the biggest differences between the two is that one can be taught to people and the other one literally is something you have to be born with in order to utilize. However, let's dive a little bit deeper in order to properly explain it to you. Hiden Jutsu are secret techniques that are passed down from members of the clan to one another, usually from parent to child, or clan leader to clan heir, or clan leader to specific members of their branch. Examples of these are things like the Shadow Possession Jutsu that the Nara clan uses, the Mind Transfer Jutsu of the Yamanaka clan, and the Expansion Jutsu of the Akimichi clan, or the way that the Aburame clan can use insects for their jutsu. With these techniques, they are techniques that clans who possess them are extremely careful about their knowledge of how they work. It is generally frowned upon to teach these techniques to members outside the clan, which is where we have our first clear distinction. You can't teach someone how to use, say, Ice Release from Haku's clan, and you can't teach someone how to use the Sharingan from the Uchiha clan. Both of those, they are Kekkei Genkai. However, you can teach someone these Shadow Possession Jutsu if need be. In fact, the Boruto movie novel written by the former Boruto writer Ukyo Kodachi strongly implies that Shikamaru did this with Temari, teaching her the basics of Shadow Possession Jutsu without teaching her the jutsu itself. Also, she could assist him with training Shikadai to prepare him for the Chunin exams, where he used that giant Shadow Possession circle that he used in the fight with Boruto. Hiden Jutsu can also be broken down by someone who has an observant eye or a deep understanding of how chakra works. Classic examples of this being done are how Neji broke down the Hyuga clan's Hiden Jutsu that was limited to only members of the main branch, and the third Hokage, who was said to have mastered every fighting style inside of Konoha, which earned him the nickname of the Professor. It's because these techniques can be learned by others that clans like the Nara clan, they take extra precautions with their clan's prized technique. They pass down the methods of using the jutsu, the strengths, the weaknesses, and etc., not through the form of scrolls, but through the form of oral teachings, because that cuts down on the chances of someone else learning the jutsu. Clans are super prideful of their Hiden Jutsu, just in the same way that the Uchiha clan are super possessive of the Sharingan. It's the thing that sets both of those clans apart, because it's the thing that both sets of clans they treasure the most. This is why in the Boruto era, the ninja tech known as the Shinobi Gauntlet can use the Nara clan's Shadow Possession Jutsu like we see with Shikamaru, because it is something that can be taught, but it cannot use things like Kekkei Genkai, because they are things that can only be performed by someone who genetically has the Kekkei Genkai. So you'll never see a ninja tool that can use Lava Release, but you will see a ninja tool use Shadow Possession Jutsu or Expansion Jutsu, because they are Hiden Jutsu. So you might be wondering, if this is the case that they're different from Kekkei Genkai, then why would the Hyuga clan have a Hiden Jutsu? Well, it's not just the Hyuga clan who have their own Hiden Jutsu, so too do the Uchiha clan, but we'll touch on that later. Clans who have Kekkei Genkai can have Hiden Jutsu that they pass down, but oftentimes the Hiden Jutsu that they have are techniques created to specifically be used by someone who has the clan's Kekkei Genkai, which means you can teach the basic mechanics to someone, like say how Sasuke teaches the Uchiha clan's Shuriken Jutsu to Boruto. However, they won't be able to fully maximize the technique because they don't have the required Kekkei Genkai that said jutsu was created in order to maximize the Kekkei Genkai. The Hyuga clan, they are a perfect example of this. So their Kekkei Genkai, it is the Byakugan, which allows them to see the chakra pathway system down to the Tenketsu, which is why they developed a hidden jutsu that is taught to members of the clan, the gentle fist fighting style. Again, the movements of the fighting styles that can be taught. Boruto incorporates elements of the Hyuga clan, the gentle fist, into his taijutsu, but Boruto, he can never fully utilize it because he cannot target the chakra points themselves. He can just mimic the movements. The Hyuga clan also take it a step further with their hidden jutsu that are only taught to members of the main branch, most famously rotation. However, because it is a hidden jutsu, it can be figured out by someone with a Byakugan or someone who has keen observation, but only someone with the Byakugan can ever truly use the jutsu to the maximum potential because it itself is classified in the data books as a hidden jutsu because it is a secret technique of the main branch. However, if you don't have a Byakugan, it is pointless to try and attempt it. Nobody ever taught this jutsu to Neji. Neji watched members from the main branch fight and train, and he kept mimicking their movements until he figured out how the jutsu worked. Following his battle with Naruto in the Chunin exams, Neji will be personally trained by Hinata's father during the 2.5-year time skip because for as big of a genius as Neji was, there were still elements of the main branch hidden jutsu that he still needed to be taught to get refined, which brings us to Kekkei Genkai themselves. In short, Kekkei Genkai, as you all know, they are genetic. You have to be born with the gene in order to use the power of a Kekkei Genkai in most cases, but there are exceptions. So such examples of an exception would be getting it externally, the way that Yamato and Obito and Madara were all given Hashirama's DNA, which allowed them to use wood release, or how people like Kakashi and Ao took the dojutsu of someone from the Uchiha clan and Hyuga clan respectively, or Jinchuriki like Naruto, who gained a Kekkei Genkai via the chakra of the tail beast that was sealed inside of them. So think of Roshi using the lava release jutsu that comes from Four Tails, or Naruto as a 10 Tails Jinchuriki being able to use lava release and bull release. Another misconception with Kekkei Genkai is that things like the Sharingan and the Byakugan aren't Kekkei Genkai. This isn't true. People correctly refer to them as being dojutsu, and I've seen in the comment section at times people, when you point out to them that the Sharingan and Byakugan are Kekkei Genkai, they call it a retcon. They say this was never the case, when this is not the case, nor has it ever been a situation where this didn't apply. Oftentimes people remember Kekkei Genkai because of how Haku's ice release was explained in the anime as mixing water and wind release together, and we got that tragic expansion of Haku's origin story in the anime, which is why ice release is usually one of the first Kekkei Genkai that people think about right away when they think of the term Kekkei Genkai. But in that same arc, in the Land of Waves arc, the Sharingan was directly stated to be a Kekkei Genkai, a bloodline trait of the Uchiha clan. There are different types of Kekkei Genkai. Some of them, they're dojutsu like previously mentioned. Some of them are advanced chakra natures which blend two chakra natures together, and other Kekkei Genkai are genetic mutations that directly affect the body. So say Jugo's clan has the ability to constantly draw on nature energy. Kimimaru's clan can manipulate the bones in the body. So Kekkei Genkai, they aren't one size fits all. Another difference between these two is that while Kekkei Genkai are overpowered, Kekkei Genkai in the world of Naruto, they are viewed as more valuable than hidden jutsu because of their rarity. That's why during war, if someone has a dojutsu, another shinobi from another nation will attempt to steal the dojutsu because it greatly amps up the military force of their nation, assuming the eye is transplanted into someone whose body is fit to use it. This led to clans like the Hyuga clan taking preemptive measures to place seals on various members to ensure that the eye doesn't fall into the wrong hands, like the way that it did with Ao. That's why the Cloud Village would kidnap a child Hinata, because the plan wasn't to just take her Byakugan, it was also to keep her in the village, wait for her to come of age, and force her into marriage with someone who would be a capable shinobi who she could have children with, because their kids would be born into the hidden Cloud Village with the Hyuga clan's Byakugan genetics, thus strengthening the Cloud Village for years to come. Dojutsu, now they're easier to transfer. It's literally just swapping the eyes. But with say Jugo's clan Kekkei Genkai, Kabuto needed to directly inject Jugo's DNA into his body in order to use it, and with Kimimaru's technique, it proved to be so much of a hassle that Orochimaru just wanted to take over his body, likely because of the difficulty that he and Danzo had trying to implant Hashirama cells into shinobi to gain wood release Kekkei Genkai, which To this day, we don't know why Hashirama was the only shinobi to ever have wood released before Yamato survived the experiment. Hopefully this clears up any misconceptions you guys might still have, and if it doesn't, just ask me down in the comment section. I read every reply, and I'll do my best to reply to as many of them as I can. As you guys know, there's a limit on how much I can reply on YouTube, so I'll reply to as much as I can. In the meantime, click here on the left for a video from my Anime Explained channel, or click here on the right for a video from Naruto Explained.